Hello and welcome to the Livestock Insight report update. I'm Nicola Dennis from AgriHQ. We're going to take a wander through what was in last week's reports for the North Island and South Island. As you know, we cover what's happening in the store, slaughter and export markets, and that report tends to cover a lot of ground, so I'm just going to try and pick off a few key points. Apologies for any video quality issues that might arise. I seem to be struggling with a bit of hay fever at the moment. I had to roll around on the ground carving a cow last night, and now I just want to roll up underneath a duvet and itch my eyeballs. Okay, so on the front page we had a viewpoint on academics taking aim at New Zealand beef cows. There was this overseas study that proposed that we get rid of our beef breeding herd and replace it with bobby calves, and I don't want to be too harsh on the scientists that wrote this report. As a scientist myself, I know how these things go. You have to publish something, and not everything's a political statement, but there isn't any practical merit to this paper, really. Basically, a dairy beef calf kind of gets a bit of a free ride on its mother's emissions because its mother's emissions get offset by her milk production. So when you've got a beef suckler cow, she can't bury her emission intensities in a vat of milk. So, yeah, moving on. There was a generous amount of rain in the North Island and South Island, a little too generous for parts of the Hawke's Bay. Parts of the east coast on the South Island are still a concern, but they have shown some improvement over the past couple of weeks, and this has buoyed the store cattle market. Prices are still well behind last year, as they should be, because slaughter prices are well behind last year. Our analysts are going to take a look at the historic store cattle and slaughter price data that we have in our database and sort of come up with an idea of what store stock are, relative to slaughter prices. Are they under or overvalued? So we'll bring that to you for this week. What else was in there? We looked at the October export statistics. There was some growth in the US market compared to last year, and that's largely because China has sat out of the New Zealand beef market to an extent. So we are reliant on that US market, but to be fair, the US market is holding up much better than expected. We've got the October lamb exports, which were lower than last year despite a higher good kill rates over that time. Here we were dealing with some rumours last week that the Tianjin port in northern China was closed due to a COVID outbreak. That would have been horrific for lamb exports if it were true. It turns out that it's not true, at least for New Zealand shipments. And in addition to that, over the weekend, Reuters put out a confused report that implied that there were traces of COVID-19 in New Zealand beef cold stores in Jinan near Shanghai. Our Prime Minister has since clarified that this is not the case. New Zealand beef, it looks like it was just simply stored in a cold store where there was some Argentinian beef that tested positive. It's really unlikely that New Zealand products are going to test for COVID-19 given that we're largely free of any community transmission at this time. But these reports coming in from overseas, unhelpful to say the least. So just stick with us, kids. We're here every week. We're keeping an eye on the markets. If there's something there you need to know, we're going to tell you about it. We'll be one of the first to know. Anyway, this week we'll be keeping abreast of the export markets as per usual, particularly around the Chinese situation. But also we've got the New Zealand dollar, which seems intent on hitting 70 US cents. We've got whatever goes on with the Brexit negotiations. We've got lockdowns in the UK and the EU. So there's plenty to watch in that space. We will also look at the slaughter markets, the slaughter prices as always, and like I said, we're going to dig deeper into those store prices that I've already mentioned. So that will be in your inbox on Friday if you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, you can head along to agrihq.co.nz, get yourself sorted out. You can also enter for that Honda XR150 farm bike at farmersweekly.co.nz if you want one of those, and I'm sure you do.